Below this foul surface lies one of the last unexplored places on Earth.
They've scaled Everest, they've been to the North Pole, they've been to the Moon, they've sent spaceships to Mars. Nobody has ever been to the bottom of the Dead Sea.
We don't know what's out there. No one knows what's out there. And the seafloor that no one's ever been on before, we don't know what we're going to find. It could be anything.
One man believes these deadly depths may hold the key to a mystery that's haunted man since biblical times. Were Sodom and Gomorrah real cities or an ancient morality tale? Were they destroyed by God's vengeance or a natural catastrophe? Biblical scholar Mike Saunders believes the Dead Sea may hold the answers, and he's about to attempt something that's never been done to find out.
I'm scared. I mean, this is not something that I like to do, and I'm very apprehensive.
It's an adventure worthy of Indiana Jones. Soon, Mike Saunders could hold the answer to one of the Bible's greatest mysteries. Lying between Israel and Jordan, the Dead Sea sits in the heart of what is still today called the Holy Land. 2,000 and 3,000 years ago, this was the setting for the visions, prophecies, and miracles reported in the Bible. Perhaps even Jesus walked here. Mike Saunders has been on a lifelong quest, searching for concrete evidence that the events described in the Bible are based on historical fact. Finding the remains of Sodom and Gomorrah would be his greatest triumph.
These two cities were the epitome of evil in the world at that time. And in spite of Abraham actually negotiating with God to save the cities, God, in the biblical story, decides to destroy them by a fire and brimstone.
The very names Sodom and Gomorrah have come to symbolize evil, decadence, and corruption. But still, God sent 2 angels. If they could find just 10 righteous men, the cities would be saved. Lot, perhaps the only virtuous man in either town, welcomed the angels, but an angry mob demanded to know them in the biblical sense. So according to the Bible, the angels told Lot, "Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. Most importantly, escape for thy life. Look not behind thee."
The cities of Sodom and Gomorrah have never been found, but there are maps that are actually published in 1650 showing Sodom and Gomorrah beneath the Dead Sea.
This map has always puzzled Saunders. Why would 17th century mapmakers draw the biblical cities underwater? Was it simply a flight of artistic license? In 1994, a clue to what lies at the bottom of the Dead Sea would come from a very unlikely place.
3, 2, 1, lift off.
In 1994, the Space Shuttle Endeavour set off on a mission to photograph the Earth using the latest radar technology. Taken from space, this new type of photography can reveal features invisible to normal human vision. The scientists were looking for information on minerals, vegetation, and water use. They never imagined they'd find clues to the fate of the legendary cities of sin. According to previous studies, the bottom of the Dead Sea should be completely flat.
My first reaction when I saw the NASA photographs was that this was something unique and startling. There were a whole series of strange features that shouldn't be there, which we call anomalies. One is a rectangle of dots, which appear too regular to be natural formations. The other is a feature that looks like a collapsed pyramid. All the experts we've talked to, who are geologists, have told us that there is no similar natural formation like that anywhere else in the world. The implication, if it's not a natural formation, is that it may be man-made.
And if it is man-made, is it Sodom and Gomorrah? Mike Saunders would do anything to find out, even travel to the depths of the Dead Sea. After thousands of years, was this hellish place about to reveal its darkest secrets? If Sodom and Gomorrah lie at the bottom of the Dead Sea, it would be one of the most explosive discoveries of modern times.
There's only one way to find out the true answer. We have to take a submarine and look.
Mike contacted Rich Slater in California, who came to Israel with his two-man research submarine, the Delta. This unique craft holds only a pilot and one observer.
Hey, it looks pretty good. All right, looks like it survived the trip.
The Delta has a 100% safety record over 500 dives. But as it leaves Jerusalem, it's about to embark on one of its most unusual and most dangerous missions.
It's okay, a couple of nutters deciding we want to take a submarine to the bottom of the Dead Sea, but there are governments involved and there is money involved, and neither were easily persuaded.
The Middle East is one of the most hostile places on Earth. An Israeli military checkpoint testifies to the volatile nature of the area. After 2 years of negotiations with the Israelis, Jordanians, and Palestinians, Saunders was able to secure permission for only a limited number of dives in these dangerous waters. Every moment on the Dead Sea and every dive will be critical. At more than 1,300 feet below sea level, the banks of the Dead Sea are by far the lowest dry land on the Earth's surface. Its water is made up of more than 30% salt and minerals, so concentrated, virtually nothing can live in it. This buildup of encrusted salt took only 2 weeks. Salt encases everything in the Dead Sea, perhaps even the ancient ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah. The minerals make the water so heavy that beneath the surface, the pressure is 2 to 3 times greater than normal water. That means that as the sub attempts to reach the bottom, the pressure on the hull will be 3 times greater than normal. Will it hold? For the Delta's intrepid crew, there's only one way to find out. Already 1 day behind schedule, Mike is worried. Even more alarming to Mike is the sub's support barge, which is being pieced together from scraps and salvage and a rusty old construction crane. In charge of the operation is Moti Gonan, a former Israeli commando who now captains the only boat on the Dead Sea. The final member of the dive team is scientist Zvi Ben Abraham, director of the Dead Sea Research Center at Tel Aviv University. Zvi has studied these strange waters for over 20 years and knows more about their bizarre qualities than anyone else.
One of the unique properties of the Dead Sea is that it hardly have any oxygen. And because you have no oxygen, you have no corrosion, no rust, no nothing. And this is a very good example. Just look on this pile just under the water level. Very clean, and it can stay clean for tens of years. Above the water, you see how much it's rusty. So, in short, you want to keep something, put it in the Dead Sea.
The Dead Sea has a unique attraction for tourists. The high concentration of salt gives the water a surreal buoyancy. It's impossible for swimmers to sink. But superbuoyancy poses a serious problem for the Delta, a craft designed to function primarily below the surface. Rich Slater calculates that he must add 1,300 pounds of lead weights to make the sub heavy enough to sink in these dense waters. Of course, too much weight, and the Delta won't be able to surface again. But believing he's found the right balance, Slater pulls away from the safety of the barge on his first test run, just below the surface.
It's like a little toy boat in the water. But it will do amazing things.
We've been worried for months whether this would work or not, and we proved that we can dive in the Dead Sea. The visibility's not bad. We can see good enough. It should be all right. And most of it's flat enough. The sonar should work well. So if there's targets out there, I think we'll find them.
Now we can find the truth. Well, whatever it is. Nothing there? Okay, there's nothing there. If there are two tells in Sodom and Gomorrah there, okay. If we find wrecks, wonderful. If we don't find anything, that's the truth. That's the truth too. And it's important that people know always the truth.
The Bible tells us, "Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities, and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground." God's wrath rained down on the doomed cities in a firestorm of divine fury and vengeance. He was leaving nothing to chance. The Bible tells us he wanted to make sure nothing at all was left, so no one could ever live here again. Lot's family fled for their lives. But his wife ignored God's warning, and the Bible tells us his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Whether Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed by the wrath of God or a natural catastrophe like a comet, Mike Saunders believes that after the fire came the flood. Appropriately, the only boat afloat on the Dead Sea is named Lot's wife. It will tow the Delta support barge into place above the anomalies found in the NASA photographs. The team could now be just a few hundred feet above the ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah, and a discovery of historic proportions, proving once and for all the events in the Bible really did take place.
The present stage of archaeology suggests that none of the events in the Old Testament are true. And yet, the Old Testament is written as a history. Scholars who look at it suggest that it is a historical work, and yet there's no historical evidence. It doesn't seem to make any sense whatsoever.
The moment of truth has arrived. The Delta's first attempt to reach the bottom of the Dead Sea, to go where no man has gone before. Today's dive will explore the anomaly that appeared as a rectangle of dots on the NASA photograph. But as the time draws near, Mike's fears are getting the best of him.
I'm scared. I mean, this is not something that I'd like to do. I'm going down because we have seen the anomalies and I have to do it. I'm not going down because I like to do it, want to do it, or would do it anywhere else for any amount of money at any time, anywhere.
Okay, Michael. Best thing is to stand up on the deck. You want to go in both feet together. Yeah, with your shoes on. All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
You got it? See you later.
Are they closing the hatch? One has to understand that nobody in the history of the world has ever touched the bottom of the Dead Sea.
Okay, welcome to Delta Dive 5033.
I'm waiting. My first dive in a submarine, and we're almost underwater. We are underwater. Engines on.
Clear with the barge. Here we go. Water's coming. We're under, and we're going to the bottom.
But it's quite murky, but there's interesting little side effects. Do you know how deep we are at this point?
100 feet.
But what happens? Do we gently hit the bottom, or do you stop it?
Oh no, we crash.
We crash.
Oh yeah. No, it just sits down. It'd be a slight crunch of salt.
So we're just gently sinking down.
Yeah, it's like a balloon. And 200 feet.
Oh, look at that. Truly amazing.
On the seafloor, 220.
Roger that. Congratulations on being in the Dead Sea seafloor.
It's pretty beautiful down here. It's all salt and we get a lot of glitter. It looks like ice. It's really quite spectacular. Roger that.
But it is amazingly flat. Everywhere is flat.
Like somebody took a giant salt shaker and just laid salt on everything.
Everything.
On the surface, Slater's son Dave is using the latest satellite guidance system to steer the sub toward the mysterious anomaly.
Course heading of 250 looks good. And we are tracking, no problems.
Okay, let's go look around.
They estimate the delta is about 200 yards from the site of the anomaly.
Roger, 20 degrees to the right.
They're now less than 100 feet away.
You're right on the spot right now. You're right on the anomaly. Roger that. Okay.
No features at all.
It looks like the salt just covers everything,
Yes,
doesn't it?
as far as the eye can see, and no bumps. I mean, it's flat.
So there's no structures here of any
No
kind?
structures at all.
Are you coming up?
Roger that.
Roger.
Despite finding nothing this first time out, it was a historic dive. Mike and Rich became the first people ever to journey to the bottom of the Dead Sea. Most importantly, the Delta has proven it can function in these treacherous waters, and now the real search for Sodom and Gomorrah can begin. On the Jordanian side of the Dead Sea, archaeologists have discovered hundreds of thousands of ancient skeletons in 3 enormous cemeteries. Each of relatively equal size, they are the 3 largest cemeteries from any era of history found anywhere on Earth. Perhaps most importantly, the bodies had been brought here from somewhere else and reburied. Where could so many bodies, all buried together, have possibly come from? The bones from these graves date back to the time of the Old Testament. Many even show unusual signs of having been burnt at the time of death. Could these be the remains of the ill-fated citizens of Sodom and Gomorrah? According to the Bible, Sodom and Gomorrah suffered a rain of fire and brimstone at the time of their destruction. Embedded in these strange cliffs are balls of almost pure sulfur, or to use its biblical name, brimstone. Hundreds of thousands of ancient graves, burnt bones, balls of brimstone. Obviously something cataclysmic happened here a long time ago. The Dead Sea Valley lies on a major seismic fault. Violent earthquake activity has been common here throughout history. A large earthquake, or perhaps a comet passing close to Earth, could have caused massive upheavals in the landscape, throwing molten rock and ash up into the sky. Any kind of violent eruption that raised the land at the bottom end of the Dead Sea would have caused extensive flooding over the flat northern end of the valley, very possibly consigning anything there, perhaps even the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, to a watery grave. A large earthquake, or perhaps a comet passing close to Earth, could have caused massive upheavals in the landscape, throwing molten rock and ash up into the sky. The Bible's vision of fire and brimstone could be consistent with a passing comet. The Bible tells us that, in the beginning, God made this area at what is now the northern rim of the Dead Sea a paradise. The shore on the Israeli side also shows signs of serious damage, but from a different kind of destruction. The ruins of this restaurant testify to the last conflict between Israel and Jordan in 1973. By a bizarre coincidence, one of the few things still standing is a depiction of the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah. Although the fighting is long past, the entire area is still a military zone. The border between Israel and Jordan now runs straight down the center of the Dead Sea. The dive team has now moved to within 300 yards of the border and is about to explore the final anomaly of the expedition. Having found nothing at the first location, the team's hopes are focused on finding one of the biblical cities at this last site. As they prepare to dive, a serious problem arises. The anomaly straddles the underwater border, and at the last moment, the Jordanian government has withdrawn permission for any diving in their territory.
Yeah, but I just think it'd be worthwhile. You don't have to go ashore.
The team weighs the risks of exploring the forbidden area anyway.
Yeah, you don't want to go
This is no
ashore.
man's land. And maybe what you're seeing is the first time that anybody's seen,
That's right.
because people are not coming here.
That's why I think it's a good idea to go
could
look.
be mine. No, seriously, don't stop.
Don't go ashore.
If no mines, they will shoot you from there.
Shooting, I'm used to.
No.
It's water I don't
But
like.
if you see something, it could be that nobody's seen before. This is
Right.
serious.
Would it be okay to talk about it?
I don't know.
I think it's all right if you stay in the boat. Stay in the boat.
Yeah, we'll stand. I'm not fine.
They decide to explore the anomaly while trying to stay on the Israeli side of the border.
Good luck, Zvi.
Okay. Okay, if you can start up, you're about 200 yards from the boat.
We're at about 100 feet of water depth here in the Dead Sea with Zvi.
My goodness. Very good.
Yeah, you finally made it. You've been studying this place for a long time, right?
It's unbelievable story. Unbelievable story. Look at that.
Yeah, good.
This is the Israeli-Jordan border. Jordan, and the yellow lines are the sub-tracks. Right now, they're right at that X.
Something is going on here. I guess you have to go to the right. Let's investigate this feature. It's very interesting.
Do they continue?
It gets really noisy. What you see is the striping from the satellite image, because the way it scans it, you get striping.
Okay, so we are going to these funny features on the sonar. Oh, it's another 50 meters or so?
Although the seabed nearby is flat, Zvi has seen something unusual on his sonar screen. Unknown to Zvi and Dave in the Delta, the submarine is getting dangerously close to the Jordanian border. As the support ship follows, Moti, the captain, is getting worried about everyone's safety.
Turn to the right.
More to the right. Roger that.
That's it. More. Okay, David, look
Hold
at
on,
the...
wait.
אוקיי, אז להתראות.
Suddenly, after nothing but flat, featureless seabed, Zvi has found something extraordinary. But up on the surface, things have come to a head. The small sub has ignited a full-blown international incident.
The Israeli army say that we cross the border because of a complaint of the Jordanian soldiers. But we are on the border. We just cross maybe a few hundred meters because of the sub is underwater, and we have to follow the sub.
Zvi is indicating that he has not seen these particular structures before.
I don't know what they are. Never seen them before.
Does he think they might be man-made or not natural?
I don't know.
That's inconclusive at this time.
We'll investigate a little further.
The Delta is now far over the border, and the Jordanian military is insisting it surface immediately.
I just don't believe it. I don't believe what I see. I really don't believe what I see.
He says that we got to get you up, so prepare to surface.
we are moving to the west because I don't want them, I don't want to disturb the peace. That's it.
The expedition is forced by the Jordanian military to abandon their last dive, just as it seemed they might have found remnants of Sodom and Gomorrah. With only 2 dives left, Mike's frustrated with Zvi's reluctance to speculate on what he saw at the bottom.
Could it have been man-made?
I don't know.
No. Could it have been man-made? It's not a natural process.
I did not say it's not a natural process. I say I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know of a natural process.
You don't know.
Maybe there are natural processes that I don't know of.
Sure. But you've never seen anything like that
never
before?
Seen, that's right.
Either on land or under the sea?
On land it's difficult to say because on land, you know, at sea I did not see this. And I investigated the Dead Sea for many years.
But it could be man-made.
The team has decided to focus all their efforts in these last dives on one final site. The problem is, hundreds of feet below the surface, it sits directly on the Jordanian border.
We see fairly large structures here. We're taking pictures.
Roger, can you say a little more about it?
They have some sharp edges.
There are sharp edges.
And fairly steep
walls on these mounds.
The sharp edges beneath the encrusted salt are the first undersea forms that look strikingly man-made. Back on the surface, the southerly wind is picking up, causing Moti to worry about the safety of the barge.
It's a barge, and it starts to get wet. The waves can climb on it and to flash it, to wash everything, like electricity generator, things like that. We can have damage.
What? Can we use your arm to...
Certainly.
To try
That's a good idea, actually.
To break one of these?
Were the sharp-edged structures beneath the salt the ruins of ancient biblical cities? Zvi needs to find out. The water in the Dead Sea is so dense that even small waves have the impact of waves 3 times the size.
Better for us if, in this case, we see that the sea is too rough. Better if we will go to a shelter close the shore.
What's up? We better call him up. Modi said the weather's coming in. He wants to get the sub back on board.
Dave, the weather's changing up here. We're going to have to bring you up in a few minutes. So if you have anything to do it quickly. Well, the weather sure doesn't look that bad, does it? I have to think we have to trust the locals. It's starting to blow a little southerly. I think that's what he's worried about.
Don't move, don't move. Don't go.
We gotta get you up, so,
Okay. Ah.
Zvi seems plagued by bad luck. Once again, his dive has to be cut short. But this time, he knows he's seen something extraordinary. Back on board the barge, more than the weather is getting rough.
No, I don't know what they're like. I don't know. Just
Nobody knows anything what they are. What do you think they are?
maybe tectonics faulting there. I don't know. I'm a tectonic man. I'm a tectonic
There's a
man.
square of walls and it's a tectonic man.
Maybe a series of faults that activated this area. This is an active area. This is a Dead Sea area.
The size of a barge?
Yeah, the size of a barge. Maybe we have one set of fault here,
I'll tell you.
and another set of
I'll tell you
Mike?
what.
That's it. Natural phenomenon.
We will have a beer.
Moti has called for the barge to be evacuated. But now he fears that even his own boat, Lot's wife, is no longer safe.
Because it's now become quite dangerous. So we are trying to tow the barge and the sub, but the waves are moving faster in that direction than he can pull in that direction, so we're stuck. We can't move forward. There is a danger we're actually moving backwards towards the shore, which is not a good idea because that area that we've just come from is in fact mined, and the last thing on earth we want to have happen is to be washed ashore on that particular part of the Dead Sea. So it looks as though the dives for the day are over, unfortunately, just when Zvi had evidently found some structure.
These mounds that seem to be, some of them seem to be aligned on straight lines. Now, I don't know what is the actual extent of these mounds, but they are not very widespread. We don't know how far they go to the east because we were not allowed to cross to the Jordan territory. But from our side, from the Israeli side, you can see that this is quite limited extent. I don't know what are these mounds. I don't know what process creates them, but they sort of funny features.
It's the final day of the expedition, but with only 2 hours of daylight left, the tow rope is caught in the propeller, putting Mike's critical last dive in jeopardy. As the minutes tick away, Odette, one of the crew, knows the problem can only be solved working beneath the boat in the toxic brine of the Dead Sea. If he can't free the rope, it will soon be too dark to dive, and Mike will miss his only opportunity to explore Zvi's fascinating discovery. At last, Odette emerges triumphant. The final dive can proceed. At first apprehensive to dive, now Mike can hardly wait to see the structures Zvi has discovered.
I want to see anomalies. Oh, here's... Wait a minute. Hold on. What the hell is that? There we are. Mounds. And more mounds. And even more mounds. That is quite stupendous. On the left-hand side, there's a sort of bigger mound.
Something's happened. The whole bottom looks different here.
Yes, it does. It looks as though there's something underneath this, as opposed to the rest of the area where it was all flat.
Other than ruins of the ancient cities, what else could lie underneath the salt?
Could it be rubbish coming in from the Jordan?
Yeah, but why would it all be in one spot?
Well,
I think the rubbish should be all over the place.
Absolutely. Makes no sense.
No.
The fact that the mounds are concentrated in one area suggests they might cover the site of an ancient settlement, now completely encrusted with salt. As they continue to explore the area, Mike notices something startling.
Here's a big one.
Here's a big one, yeah.
Big one. And there's red stuff on top. Has anybody seen any of the red stuff on flat
No.
terrain?
No.
Ah.
Oh, we've come across some fairly large mounds. The mounds are about 1/2 meter to 1 meter high. They're covered with salt with red coloration at the top. Over.
Roger.
The redness is a strange feature no one can identify. Unfortunately, the sub is overdue to surface. The last dive of the expedition is over, and Mike's time at the bottom of the Dead Sea is at an end.
If they were natural features, you would expect to see all sorts, large quantities of them all over the place. And they're not. They're localized. And they do have this red stuff on top of them, and it's just amazing. And there is no red stuff anywhere else.
With the last dive over, Zvi and Mike feel they have made an important discovery.
The Dead Sea is full of surprises. It definitely, we got interesting images down there. And as usual in an expedition, there are many new questions to be asked now, much more than before.
Major catastrophes have happened in this area. There's no reason to suppose that Sodom and Gomorrah wasn't one of them. It does look as though there is a non-natural major phenomena where we have predicted it would be. And before we've finished, we'll try, and I think we'll succeed in solving that enigma.
The Dead Sea is calm once more. The intruders are leaving. But beneath this timeless surface, the long shadows of history may have finally been touched by the light of day. Zvi and Mike have seen something extraordinary, perhaps of monumental historical importance, but they've only scratched the surface. And for now, at least, the secrets of the mounds are safe. For the Delta, it's a long journey home to California, with only the ghosts of an ancient civilization to accompany her. Mike Saunders is one step closer to completing his lifelong quest and proving that the events described in the Bible really did happen. He's now more convinced than ever that the mythical cities of sin lie only a few inches beneath the hardened crust of salt at the bottom of the Dead Sea. But for now, belief in this Bible mystery remains an act of faith.